ball unknown.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to a new episode of Football Unknown Podcast. I am your host, Kirill Rosary. If you're new, make sure to hit the subscribe button, like the video, and today we have
Andrew Moullin. I'm excited to be here, man. I'm super excited. I love what you got going on here. I love the team, and let's get it going.
Hey everyone, before we kick off this week's episode, I would like to announce that Football Unknown is now officially sponsored by New Tempo, a brand new apparel company that is dedicated to improving the accessibility of the beautiful game to all here in the US. They have just launched their all-performance tee for both men and women, and I think they're beautiful to train in. I personally like their stretchability, their elastic recovery, and their resistance. New Tempo is donating 10% of all earnings to the US Soccer Foundation that provides children who live in underserved communities, enabling them to thrive in an active and healthy lifestyle through soccer. So make sure to check them out before the shirts run out. And be sure to use the code UNKNOWN to get $5 off your order while supplies last. Now let's hop back into it. Perfect. Now before we hop into it, right? Give everyone a brief intro about you, where you're from, your age, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I'm 28 years old. I played professionally for about 6 years. I played in Germany, I played in England, I played in the US. Before that, I played D1 college.
Nice.
Before that, I played high level here in high school.
Nice.
I come from a long line of teachers and coaches, and so I always knew I was going to be a coach. And like we were talking about before the podcast, I tried the whole coaching thing. It didn't really work at the club level, but now I really realized that going in on my own brand, going in on it allows people to come to me if they feel like they vibe with what I'm saying, which is perfect.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what I'm doing now, is sort of going on your podcast, going on other podcasts, building my own podcast, and just getting my message out there.
Before we even hop into the story, right? Tag your podcast real quick for the people wondering.
Yeah, so my podcast is called The Offside Podcast. Basically, we were talking about before this, like the way I coach, the way I am is a little bit offside, is a little bit what people are not used to, but what they need. And so my podcast is The Offside Podcast. You can follow us on IG or YouTube. YouTube is The Football Classroom. We should be changing that soon. But then my IG is Slightly Offside. So you guys can follow me there.
When did you fall in love with the game of soccer? That's my famous question, my favorite question.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love this question because I remember the exact moment that I fell in love with soccer.
Beautiful.
Like, I was watching Thierry Henry play Arsenal. I was already an Arsenal fan from the age of 4, but I didn't watch soccer like that. I just played FIFA a ton. And so I always tell people from like 4 to 8 was when I tried every sport. I tried basketball, football, baseball, everything, hockey. And I just kept coming back to soccer. And so 8 years old, I saw Thierry Henry. I remember the play exactly. The goalkeeper kicked it. It went off Thierry Henry, and he called for a corner. And he got it. And I was like, that was clearly not off him. But I for some reason, I loved that. I loved that he still went for it. Still tried to get the
call.
Play.
Yep.
But then also Thierry Henry is Thierry Henry. So the goals and stuff like that, I started looking him up a little bit more, and that's when I fell in love with soccer. And that's when I actually said, I'm going to be a professional soccer player at 8. And so yeah.
Nice. For me, it was something similar because for me, I like soccer, but like you said, from the age of 4, and upwards, 4 to 8, you said.
Yeah.
It's like you still experience experiencing other sports.
Exactly.
So I was in elementary school at the time. I was playing basketball. I was playing soccer, recreational. I was playing in football.
Yep.
And then I can remember the first time I fell in love with the game. I fell in love with the club. It was Man City. Was the same day when Aguero scored that last minute goal. It was against QPR, right?
Yeah.
The last minute. And from that moment, bro, I just fell in love with the game. Fell in love with the club, Man City.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because when I fell in love with Arsenal, they were at the top. They were at the top. They were beating Juventus, Real Madrid in the Champions League. We went to the final of the Champions League pretty soon after that when I was 12. So
seeing that on YouTube.
Yeah, against Barcelona, all that stuff. And so for me, Arsenal was at the top then. So it's kind of weird that I started loving them at the top because you know, people look back and they're like, well, of course you loved them at the top, but we've gone through a long period of time right now where we've been down. And so when I tell people that I'm an Arsenal fan now, even though I have all the jerseys from back then, they're like, oh, you're just a bandwagon fan. We're playing, because you're playing top class football now. But it would ruin my day to watch Arsenal. So I went through like a 2-year span where I just look at like the results, because I can't watch them, or at a time I couldn't watch them because it literally, I would just be watching them like, this is not us.
It's not the Arsenal standard.
It was like a 7. I mean, we've been bad, not bad, but we've not been.
You know where you guys should be.
When you think of Arsenal Football Club, we have not been at Arsenal Football Club for the last 8, 9, maybe even 10 years, and so it's good to see us back now. But people, if anyone calls me a bandwagon fan, I sort of understand now, because Liverpool fans got called it like last year, a year before that. United fans have been called that.
City fans got called it too. They be calling me
for 12. Oh yeah, for sure. For 12 years. For 12 years, United fans got called that. Anytime someone's like, I'm a United fan. Well, yeah, of course, because you guys won the league last year and the year before that and the year before that.
So I mean, yeah, you get used to it. You get it. I mean, it's like it's just a phase.
Right. It was weird though. It was weird when someone called me that. I was like, what? Like. Me, the biggest Arsenal fan of all time.
Yep.
But I understand.
Hey man, I think United fans and Arsenal fans are probably like one of the most loyal fans, because man, you guys have been through like a lot of ups and downs, and I am like this from back in my travel soccer days. We still have a group chat. Yeah. And man, I go down on the Arsenal, on my Arsenal fans and United fans, and they go. It's just so fun. It's like we argue back and forth about
Yeah, you've never really like I mean, obviously because we're bigger clubs, but like you've never met a Leeds fan here,
exactly,
unless they're actually from Leeds. And so I sort of empathize with that. Like my dad's from Manchester, so it makes sense. Like he's a Manchester United fan,
exactly,
and he's gone to probably hundreds of games.
Wow.
I've been to more United games than I have Arsenal games. But I've never told anyone that. but because my dad's like, why would you not be a United fan?
Yep.
Like he used to buy me all these different things, like United.
He was babying you into it.
He was trying to groom me to be an Arsenal, to be a United fan, and I was just I was the kid who always went against things like that. And so he's legitimately taken me more to United games on purpose so that I would have to say that.
Yeah. And you're like, nah. Right. Nah, I'm going to make my own decision.
Exactly.
It's the Gunners, right?
Exactly.
So, at what age did you start playing? Like, competitive soccer?
Yeah, so I started playing when I was 4. My mom loves telling the story. She'll be like, he was 4 playing with the U5s. And I was like, it's not really playing up when we're all like babies. But, but yeah, so at the age of 4, I started playing. Like I said, I was doing a lot of different sports. There came a time when I literally stopped playing soccer for like 2 years. It was like 6, 7, and 8, where I stopped playing. And I played baseball. I loved baseball.
Oh, really?
But then I came back to like guest play with the team, and I couldn't run. I could not run for like 5 minutes. I was just like, I would run, but then I would just be so dead. And I was like,
tired,
I used to be able to run all day, and now I can't. So I was like, no shade on baseball, but I was literally like, I want to be able to run. I want to be able to feel good when I'm
feel good. Yeah.
I couldn't even think about the game because I couldn't run. Damn. And so. Because I was playing baseball.
Yeah, playing baseball.
Catcher. Like we didn't run. We didn't do exercise.
Exactly. Unless you hit the ball, you run to the base. That's like most running, right?
That's it. All we would do is throw the ball. Like it was cool. Like I was good at baseball. Competitive. It was fun. Whatever. Then I went and played soccer, and I was like, like I'm not even like close to the level of that. So then that's when I just went all in. It was like 8. Really? It was at 8 years old.
So you were like, baseball. I like you. Yeah. But I think I like soccer a little bit more.
Right.
And then you pushed for soccer?
Right. So 8 years old to 28 years old, like where I am now. It was all soccer all the time. I did, in middle school, I did go out for the basketball team, and I played basketball and soccer at the same time.
Nice.
But other than that, it was soccer. Yeah, other than that, it was soccer all the time. So, like, full commitment, too, as well. Like, I'm talking about, like, in high school, like, I didn't go to parties and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't really do that kind of stuff. Like I had friends and we hung out, but
you're locked in,
bro.
Locked in.
If you want to get into that, bro, I tell my story. I tell my story all the time on my channels and stuff like that, because I went all out. I truly went all out. I went 100% into being the best possible player I could be, and also trying to be the best in the country. That if anyone else tried to do that, they would get burnt out in like a day, maybe 2 days.
Wow.
And because at the age of 14, my dad took me to England.
Okay.
I trained with Sheffield, or I trained with West Ham first. I had just come off of appendicitis, so I had my appendix taken out.
And really,
Yeah, so
wow.
I came back from surgery immediately. Literally a month later, I'm at West Ham Academy. So you have to be realistic. Like I was in there and I was like, I wasn't my full self. I didn't have all the skills that I needed.
Yep.
And they're basically like, don't come back. No problem. It was a great opportunity.
Yep.
To see the facilities, hang out, and see what it's like. Perfect.
Yep.
But then the next day I went over to Sheffield Wednesday, and I played with them for 5 days and with the U18s. I was 14 and playing with the 18s, and that was an unbelievable experience. And I was like, this is what I want to do. This is it.
Nice.
This is who I want to. This is who I want to play with. Like they're one of my favorite teams now. I check up on them every week. I was like, this is what I want to do all the time. I want to play soccer. Like, I truly want to be a professional. I don't want, it's not like what everyone else says where I just want to play soccer all day. It's like, no, if you're a professional, it's a job and you get your job done.
It's a lifestyle. And like, for me, I had the privilege of going to Germany for like, it was like a camp for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I went there twice, once in Munich, once in Berlin.
Yeah.
And everyone, you know, when we're up here, right, we're playing travel, we're playing high school. We all say, you know, I want to be a professional. I want to be professional because we like the game. We know it has money. Whatever. But I think it takes you going in that environment.
You have to.
And experiencing it.
Yeah.
Even if, whether it be for a couple years, couple months, couple weeks, to really see, okay, do I want to do this?
Yep.
Do I want to put my body all my body on the line? Right?
Yep.
And go through all of the mental barriers, mental challenges that you're going to face, those physical challenges that you're going to face. That's when it's like, oh man, do I want to do that? Because I can remember my dad went with me on the first one. It was in Berlin. And we had like a little speech thing where like the coaches, like the Hertha Academy, because we toured Hertha Academy, and then the coaches would come and speak to us.
Yep.
And then they would tell us, you know, like all what the players have to do, and like the little mental things that, you know, all those different stuff. And after that, I can remember my dad came to me and he was like, now, are you sure you want that's something you want to do? So it's like, you have to go over there to, I believe you have to go over there to really make that decision.
Yeah, because I was at Atlanta United here, and even watching their academy, like they have, and I haven't seen all of them, but I think based on what I saw, I think they have one of the best academies in the country.
Really?
Oh, for sure. 100%. I mean, well, everyone's catching up, but the facilities were when I was there, they were the best in the league, guaranteed. But a lot of a lot of clubs have stepped it up.
Yeah, things have
perfect,
changed,
perfect. And so Atlanta United, when I was there, was the best facility wise. But then they also had the best team. Won the MLS Cup that year, and they won it all that year. And I just felt like the way that they tried to play, the coaching staff that they had around, just the support group that they had was just top quality. And so I thought they were the best, whatever. But when you go over to another country that the culture is all about soccer.
Oh, yes, man.
When you go to a place where literally, if you tell them that you play for X, Y, and Z club, they will literally be like, oh, food's on us. Like,
yep, absolutely.
Like, oh, take whatever. When you are really around people who, bro, if you go and lose a game, the whole city knows that you messed up. The whole, like, and if you're in that environment, and obviously that's the first team, you might be in the youth team, but if that's the environment, and the coaches know, the players know, and you know that that's what the expectation is, and you also have your own ambitions, you're not gonna take, like, you can't take a day off, because
you can't, man.
And then I'll say the other part, the best part about it for me was, if I had stayed over there and I had played for Sheffield Wednesday for the next 3 or 4 years, I probably would have been on the youth national team. I probably would have probably made a debut or something. I would in the FA Cup or something like that. But the thing is, the fact that I had to come over here and actually do it all myself, because no one's going to hold me to the standard of them that they held me to. And so the fact that I had to come over and do it myself, I learned a lot. I learned a lot of lessons about commitment and actually staying true to the thing that you want, even though you're not in that same environment, is just next level stuff. Like, I mean, I see it here. Like, I played D1 college, high level D1 college. And so I look at what I was doing there and what they were doing there, and I'm like, this is not even, like, college, high school is here, college is here, but then professional is here.
Yeah.
Like, it's a huge jump.
It's a huge jump.
It's a huge jump. But I was able to see that at 14. So I knew from 14 to 18, I knew what had to be done. And that even got me to, like, a pretty average or, decent professional career. Most people aren't even doing half that.
Yep.
and they were expecting a professional career.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
What was the first club you played for? The very first competitive club you played for?
competitive club. I would say the first competitive club was AFC Lightning in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
That was the real. I'm sorry, Forsyth Fusion in North Georgia. I don't want to be disrespectful because that was literally my first taste of like this is what real club soccer is like. Because I was playing in
absolutely, man.
I was playing in St. Augustine, so I was born in St. Augustine. I played in St. Augustine, and it was what it was. It was like a rec program. It was cool, whatever.
Cool. Introduction to the game.
Exactly, and we're not gonna be able to travel to Orlando and Miami if I'm 8, 9 years old. You shouldn't be doing that. But when I was 10 and we moved to North Georgia, and I like actually saw, I was like, oh, we're playing against teams from Atlanta. We're playing against people who actually have like good quality gene pools and a lot of people. And I was like, oh, this is what it's like. So I played there for about 2 years, 18 months.
Okay.
And I mean, even then I look back, and that's when the work ethic really started.
Exactly,
That's when I really started working. I mean, I would show up 2 hours early for practice. I would challenge the coaches to like 3v3 games because I would bring friends. Like we would have to pick people up on our way from school, and we would take them, and it would be 3 of us, and we'd challenge my dad and 2 other coaches, and we would just play for 2 hours before practice. And now practice is here. We train for 2 hours, and I'm getting 4 hours of training while you're coming for 2 hours and just doing what everyone else is doing.
Yep, absolutely. Sometimes not even giving it your all. You come to practice, you're just joking, this and that. It's like playing rec.
Yeah.
There's not much, the coaches, teach you tactically, right? Technically, all these things. What are some things you learned, right? Playing for that first travel team, your first 2 years.
Well, I'll say first before that, obviously I was so lucky. My dad coached me at rec. Okay. Now my dad has coached, high, we're talking about high level players like Landon Donovan, DeMarcus Beasley, Eddie Johnson.
Oh, wow.
Like we're talking about the best of the best of America. And then he's going to coach my rec team. Okay. And so, and the funny thing is, and my parents will talk about this, but my mom was the head coach and my dad was the assistant. Woo. So, so it was funny, but, so I had my dad basically keeping me accountable. Like I was lucky there. Right. So from that, and then I went to a new coach in Forsyth County, Georgia, in North Georgia. And, basically he was more of a technical guy. Like this is how you do technical, step overs and stuff like that.
Okay. Yep.
Which is funny because I met one of my really good friends there, and we were very competitive just in general. Like me and him were just very competitive. So we had the competitive aspect with the technical aspect, which I think that a lot of people don't have. Yeah. They are either
so young too, right?
Like there's very few people that I truly believe are competitive at the age of like 9 or 10.
Yeah.
And so the fact that my best friend, he had 3 brothers. And so they were just competitive. Like they were just like,
it was just,
you know what I'm saying? I didn't have any brothers, and my sister is 8 years younger than me. So I didn't really have any competition there.
No competition, But
him coming in, I noticed that he was competitive, and we were just friends in general because we were both Arsenal fans, and we were both friends in general. And I noticed that he was competitive, and I guess I just don't like losing. It's just something in me.
Yep, that's something good. Especially having people that are competitive around you, it holds you to a certain standard.
You have to have that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So your first 2 years playing for that club, what was next for you? What did you move after that?
So I played there for 2 years. Then I moved down to South Georgia, which is really close to Atlanta. It was like 20 minutes from Atlanta.
Okay.
So we were in the heart of it, and I moved to a better team at the time, AFC Lightning. Okay. And I had just had great coaches there. I was there for 5 years.
You were still travel, right? Still travel soccer?
Yeah. So both of those were pretty much the same level, but
but one was a little better.
You see the player pool. Like you see the one is in North Georgia where there's not as many people, and the people who are there are traveling from a lot of different areas. But then you go to AFC Lightning, which is in Fayetteville, and literally you have people like coming from Atlanta, like in the middle of Atlanta. Yeah, like good solid soccer players.
So you're gonna have some more quality.
So there's a ton of quality, right? And so I played there. For 5 years, ended up going, and they started the Development Academy League at that point. Okay. So I started playing that when I was 14, and I just fell in love with it. It was super competitive against teams from around the country. We're not just talking about people in our, in Atlanta now. We're talking about people in Clearwater. We're talking about teams in Miami.
Yeah.
We're talking about teams in South Carolina, Texas.
How was a jump, man, from playing for a travel team to playing in a development academy?
So at the end of the day, like the competition, the competitive aspect from me, I realized multiple things at this time. Is one, I just really hate feeling unprepared for things. I hate feeling unprepared.
Okay.
And so if I show up to a game, and this happened multiple times because it was our first year in academy, we couldn't recruit or anything like that. One game we got smoked 9-1 against Weston and from Miami.
Weston,
got smoked 9-1, and I'm just looking at this and I'm like,
damn.
Like I thought I was better. Then we went to these showcases and stuff like this, and I was able to watch other teams play. And that's really made me level up my game because I don't like feeling unprepared, and I'm super competitive, like to the point where it's almost embarrassing at times. But because most people aren't like that. Most people are like, oh, keep your boundaries, keep your morals and stuff like this. And I'm like, listen, when I step over the line, if it's not a red card, I'm doing it. If it's not a yellow, 2 yellows, then I'm doing it because I have to win. Because, and this is another thing I'll say is, when I would go to tournaments, and say another team was staying in our hotel.
Okay.
I would always think to myself, I do not want to walk past this team knowing that we lost. I can't do that.
Okay, man, that's a good mentality.
Or they're walking with a limp, right? Because like I don't want to walk past them in the hotel and think, dang, he got the better of me.
Yeah, he got the
because
better.
He's a kid just like I'm a kid. And so at the end of the day,
you want to put it all out there, all on the pitch, give it all you got, and get a good result.
Yeah, I mean, me and my wife were watching a game show the other day, and it was like a athletic thing where they were doing like different, they call them quests or whatever.
Okay.
And I was like, and they would come off and they'd be like, oh, I could have given a little bit more. And I was like, that's the worst thing. Losing is not the worst thing. The worst thing is knowing that
you could have give more.
Knowing that you could have given more, because I can live with the fact that I'm not good enough today, but I can't live with the fact of not knowing, was I good enough or not.
Okay,
and that killed me. So in answering your question, how was the jump? The jump was fine for me because I can adjust. I can adjust to everything.
Okay.
If you give me enough time, I will adjust. And so once we got to that level, once I took a level up, I was like, oh, okay, I can adjust to this. And so that's what I do. I still do that to this day. Like if I mess up in something, if I fail in something, I'll just adjust and I'll try to figure out what happened there.
Absolutely.
Right. So.
Absolutely. And then you said you spent 5 years playing DA, right? Getting all that training, all that. What was next? What happened after that?
Yeah. So I mean, I look at my career and I'm like, wow, I really just my career is literally just like this because so I did the DA in Atlanta, and then I moved to Minnesota, where I went to a boarding school called Chaddock St. Mary's.
Okay.
And I played there. So the first year it was just a normal like Minnesota league, right? And from that, then the next year we went to DA. So we had so at that point, now we're getting the best of the best in here, and that's amazing. Again, it's a boarding school, so we have people from around the world.
And was it still high school?
Yes.
Okay, it was high school.
Yeah, so I went there. I got there when I was 15, and I was there until senior year high school. But yeah, that's when. So every point in the journey, I learned a little bit more. In 15 to 18 was when I just went all like. Again, like I said before, like I can safely say no one my age worked harder than me during 15 to 18. It's impossible. You couldn't have worked harder than me. It's impossible. And I literally, from that, I tell people now that even when I was a pro, I was still feeding off of some of the things that I was working on when I was in high school.
Interesting.
Like I could have taken a day off. Like people tell me now, like, oh, Andrew, you can just eat whatever you want. You don't, whatever. I'm like, that's from literally high school. I was working so hard in high school that I can eat whatever I want today. Like it's people don't realize the compound effect of what happens. And so
what are some things you were doing back in those high school days?
I'll just go through my daily schedule. I did this for 3.5 years, Monday through Thursday. I would take Friday off to get ready for Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
Right? And so, and then sometimes Friday we were traveling. So I would make sure Friday was free. So Monday through Thursday, I would wake up at 4:30 in the morning, right? I lived an hour away from I lived a mile away from the field. And so what I would do is I would wake up, and this is Minnesota, so this could be negative 15 out in the morning.
At 4:30 in the morning.
4:30 in the morning, I would eat a bowl of oatmeal. I would literally walk to the field, which is a mile away. I would get in about 5:15, 5:30. I would train for an hour and a half till 7. I would go have breakfast because it was a boarding school. We had breakfast, whatever. And from there, I would literally go to class. and then I would skip lunch. My friends would go to lunch. I would get like a banana or something like that, go back to the field. I would either do, depending on how I felt, I would either do, ball mastery, what people call it now, but passing against the wall, working on my turns, working on something. Or I would do fitness, like some fitness that I had learned like in England. There were some fitness things that they did that it killed me in England. So I was like, I got to get better at this.
Yep.
So I would do something like that. For an hour, I would shower off, go back to school, and then my classes would end. I would have an hour before my actual practice. I would train for that hour.
Yep.
And then everyone would come in. I would just hop into our normal session, 2 hours. And then after that, I would go to the gym and work out for an hour, eat, and then I would do it all again the next day. And so I hear parents all the time like, my kid needs to rest up for the game. He has a game in 2 days. He needs to rest up. I'm like, why are you preparing for a game this Saturday? He's 8 years old. No, we won't say 8 years old. He's 12 years old, and he has a game this weekend. Why is he resting up for this game? Shouldn't he be preparing for the game when he's 18? Shouldn't he be focusing on the actual games? Like your game right now, I hate to tell you, your game right now does not matter. No one cares. No one's tuning into your game this weekend.
At that young age, man, you're right.
If you're 12, if you're 10 to 13, no one's tuning into your game.
Yep.
No one cares about your game. I'll be honest with you, your coach doesn't even care about your game because he has 3 other teams to coach.
Yeah.
Right? As soon as your game's over, he's going to that game.
Facts.
So what you should be doing is preparing for the game when you're 18. Can you even run properly? Like, there are kids out there who cannot even run properly. Let's focus on the basics. Let's get the basics down.
Yep.
And then let's focus on building that foundation so that when you're 18 years old, you are dominant.
Absolutely.
And so when I was 15, I truly did not care for, I mean, I hate to say this, but I truly did not care about anything other than soccer. I didn't care about school. I didn't even really care about the game this weekend, even though I was playing at a very high level. I was playing at the highest level in the U.S. that you could.
Yep.
We were playing against MLS pros every single week. Chicago Fire came in. Kansas City came in. We played against Portland. We played against probably 8 or 9 MLS clubs during the season.
Yep.
And so we're playing at a high level. These are important games. But at the end of the day, I was like,
past it.
It came from my coaches. I was lucky enough to have amazing coaches. But my coach, his name is Tim Carter. He would tell us, we're not training for this weekend. We're not training for next weekend. We're training for the playoffs. We're training for the finals. And so we would actually think like that. Like our fitness program for our game or for our trainings, we're focused on periodization to get us to the final, so that when we hit the final, we are fit and fresh.
Yep, and we could go that full 90 minutes. Absolutely.
That we could dominate the playoffs because everyone else is dead tired from the season. We are just hitting our stride. And that's what happened. Senior year, we made it to the final. Unluckily, we lost to Red Bulls.
Yep.
Damn. It was just a matter of when they brought on bench players, they were just homegrown pros coming off the bench. We didn't have that. They brought all their pros in. They brought all their pros in. And it is what it is. It's not an excuse. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
But they scored a goal in the 120th minute. And
what?
In overtime.
No, that's a heartbreak. It's a heartbreak right there.
In overtime, so it is what it is. But we had that mentality, and that's what I did through high school.
Yep.
I tell people that story all the time because that's what it took for me to be ready every single week. And when I was in class, I was watching video. I was analyzing my games.
Yep.
For me, I didn't really do homework or anything like that.
It was just soccer, man. You were just locked in.
I was truly locked in. Like when people are like, "Oh, I love soccer," I'm like, "Okay, if you love soccer, like I'm married now, so I'm like, if you truly love someone or something, when you make a commitment, it means that you're automatically putting away other things. Yeah. Like if I'm focused on soccer, if I truly want to be great at soccer, you have to commit to it, because if you don't commit, and I do, I'm going to take your spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
We understand this. We all understand that this is a zero-sum game. That if I want that position and you want that position, there's only one position. Yep. Right? You want to move to a different position? Cool. Now you got to fight against someone else. Yep. At the end of the day, the scoreboard is either I won or you won. Mm-hmm. Right? Yep. Obviously there are ties, but at the end of the season, someone has to be at the top.
Someone has to win. Someone has to be the winner.
And it goes all the way even down to the people. Like someone has to win that position. Mm-hmm. Someone has to play that position. Right? And so if I'm willing to commit 100% and not talk to girls, not go to parties, not drink or anything like that, and you're not willing to do that, I will win. At the end of the day, I might not win today, I might not win tomorrow, but in a year, 2 years, I will win.
Yep, you will win.
And I did on my podcast, I did something about the exponential curve of the compound effect. Okay. Right? So you put a you double a penny every day.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
You double a penny every day. By the 20th day, you are at $5,000. Okay? At the 30th day, you're at 5.8 million. You can make it 2/3 of the way, and you're not even close.
Yep.
But then you hit this point where it automatically goes. And I hit that point because I did it for 3.5 years. Some people will do that for 3 days. Some people will do it for 3 months. But it could be the 4th month that you take off. And I told everyone, if you do it for 2 days, you will see results.
Yeah.
But your results will not be even close to what my results were. The reason that it's exponential is that if you do that for 2 days and I do it for 3 days, I might see way more success than you do because you gave up after 2 and I gave up after 3.
After 3, yep.
If you do 2 days and I do a year, I'm going to be on a completely different planet than you. And the person who does a year versus Cristiano Ronaldo, who has done 25.
Oh, man.
You see the difference.
You see the difference,
You see the difference.
You have to be consistent.
That's all it is. Yep. That's all I'm saying at the end of the day. It's consistency. And if you can just be consistent and never give up, I remember thinking this to myself all the time. I said, if I just don't give up, I can't lose. You can't lose if you don't give up. Michael Jordan said, like, I never lost. I just ran out of time. So for me, if I just never quit, never stop,
never give up,
I can't lose. I can't lose.
Yep.
Conor McGregor says this. I love him. He said, the only impossible thing is to beat a man who never gives up. That's the only thing that's impossible in the world. And so for me, I'm like, that they say like 1% make it, right? The only reason 1% make it is because 40% get injured. Another 20% just quit because they get a girlfriend and I don't really like soccer anymore. And then another 5%, something happens in their life where they just can't do it.
Just can't do it anymore.
And now you're only competing with 5% of people. Now, if we compete 5%, the one who actually dedicated themselves and actually committed for that long period of time. Because as you go on, that 5% starts getting less and less and less and less because they go into the pro game and they realize, I don't get paid as much as I thought, or the coach doesn't like me, or don't have the connections, whatever. People stop doing that, and so for me, I'm just like, if you just don't give up and truly commit, it will happen.
It will happen. So you went to England before you went to that prep school?
Yeah. So literally, like a month or 2 before I went to England.
So tell me about that story, right? What made you go to England?
Yeah. I mean, just for me, my dad's English, and so I loved. We all love English football. And I'm like, you know what? I want to try to do that. So, my dad, again, has connections and stuff like that. And so we set it up. We knew a guy who knew a guy and went to West Ham and went to Sheffield Wednesday. Yeah, he set it up. I went there. I trained, and it was just a great experience. I'd never been out of the country before, so I was like, oh, this is really sick. So.
How was it? Is there like anything you could point out like about the difference between the playing style and the mentality up here, right? Playing for your travel team, was it before you moved down?
Yeah. So when I was here, I was still playing for AFC Lightning, and I had my appendix surgery in the summer, and then we went into club season. We were like club preseason. I think we played like 1 or 2 games, and then I was like, okay, I'm leaving for 2 weeks. They're like, oh, cool, I guess, like whatever.
How long did you have to recover? Right, for the appendix surgery.
I mean, so I had the surgery and then I had to wait 2 months. So I had it in June. I had to wait July, August, and then I left at the beginning of August. So I guess it was early June, into July, and then early August I left. It was August 9th that I left. Yeah. And so I went over there, felt a little bit of trouble when I was at West Ham, but then with Sheffield Wednesday, for some reason, it felt fine. I think it could have been like the travel and all that stuff, but it was all good. But ended up going to Sheffield Wednesday, and it was, just...
How was it there? Like, how was it playing for, an academy or training with an academy, a pro academy?
Like you said at the beginning, like, people cannot understand what it's like until they've actually done it. Yeah. So you guys can, talk. You guys can talk about, this is how it actually is, or a club can tell you, oh, this is an academy environment or whatever. And I'm like, well, it can't be. Yeah. It can't be an academy environment in the U.S. unless it's an MLS academy.
Yeah,
because
that's what I keep saying.
Because if a parent is paying for it, they control what gets said, what gets done, right? And so it can't be a professional environment unless you can start weeding people out, because that's what the true sense of an academy is like, we want to come here because it's the highest level, and we know for a fact that we can get kicked out
at any moment.
At any moment. I mean, it was just it was so intense. Like, the environment's so intense. Like, we had to wear suit and tie every day except for Fridays.
Suit and tie.
Why?
Why did
we were the academy kids, so we had to wear suit and tie.
Yeah,
they made us wear suit and tie. I remember someone was like, I'm not going to do that. They came in like in a tracksuit.
Uh-oh.
And I think it was Gary Megson at the time,
Yep.
former Bolton coach.
Yep.
He was
Yep.
at the helm then, and literally he just went off in the dining hall with everyone there, like first team there, everyone there,
No.
and just went off on this kid. But that's the like people don't realize that's the environment. You think that you can walk up to a coach right now and tell him, "Oh, you can't talk to my kid like that." Imagine telling a decorated Premier League level manager, "You can't talk to my kid like that."
Oh,
Because guess what he's gonna
hell
say? Okay, take him then.
Get out.
Take him, and
Yep.
the kid's gonna be like, "Oh, I want to stay here, mom. It's okay."
Mm-hmm.
But my dad was there, and he was like observing, and because he knew some of the coaches, and we observed this kid. He made him take a corner kick, right? I remember, like I've talked to this kid recently.
That same kid?
It was different kid,
Okay.
different kid.
Yep,
He
different
was taking
kid.
a corner.
Yep.
And the coach was standing right next to him as he's trying to take the corner,
Oh,
screaming
nah.
at him, telling him that he's not good enough, that he's never gonna make it.
His coach?
This is in training.
Oh, in training. Okay.
Literally, we're all lined up in the box.
Yep.
For this corner.
Yep.
He says, put it there, put it in that spot. And he's standing next to him as he's taking the corner, yelling and shouting and screaming at him, everything you can think about and more. And we're watching, and me and my dad afterwards, we're like looking at this, we're like, wow, this is a whole nother level. And
Yeah.
what he said at the end of it, he said, if you can't take it from me, you can't take it from 20,000.
So I'm saying in my why we're saying that, like, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah,
This makes sense.
And my sister was doing a study abroad recently. She was in Bristol, England, and they went to a
Okay.
Bristol City game, right? And she's like, I couldn't believe what these people were saying. And I'm like, yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is. That's why I sort of am the way I am, because I'm like, I know what the world is like, and so I
Absolutely,
want my
absolutely.
kids to hear it from me. And to know that it's coming from someone who actually truly cares about them, than it is about someone in the stands who does not care about you at
don't
all.
give a hell. Don't give a damn.
And so it was just it was a great experience. Like we had to clean up the dressing room afterwards. We had to clean the first team boots. We had to like it was just there was a lot of stuff. We had to do our workouts in the morning. We were pros.
Do you think those like little routine things, like, you know, cleaning the locker room, cleaning the first team boots, do you think these are like things they made you guys do on purpose to like teach you guys something?
Yeah, number one,
Yep.
it helps with the budget. You don't have to pay cleaners to come in.
Yeah.
Number two, you think you're all that in a bag of chips because you signed for Sheffield Wednesday as a youth kid.
Yep.
But they're like, you understand that you are here for the first team. People don't realize that like you might be playing for the academy, you might be playing for Chicago Fire Academy,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
But the only reason you're playing at Chicago Fire Academy is because they are making an investment to try to make the first team better, or to possibly sell you one day to make
Exactly,
money
to
for
make
the
some
club.
money. Yep,
It's a
absolutely.
business.
Yep.
And so for me, I realized that early on. I was like, oh, we're here for the first team. We're here to make them better. And so if you come in with the attitude of, oh, look at me or whatever. Like I remember they used to tell kids all the time who didn't want to clean up. They're like, oh, I'm sorry, did you drive here in your Ferrari? Did you drive here in your Lambo? No, because you're not making any money. You don't know. You're not on the first team. They made
Nothing
a
yet.
couple,
You're
They made a
nothing
couple
yet.
appearances, and they thought they were it. And the coaches would come at them all the time, thinking that they're big shots and stuff like that, and that they could be gone any day.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, you could be good. You could
yeah.
have all the skill in the world, but they could buy anyone that they want.
Absolutely.
So like you are there for them.
Absolutely.
They're not there for you.
Yep.
I think we definitely need that here in the U.S. a little bit, but it's tough. It's tough.
It's tough, man. Because like the way a lot of people up here, man, they feel entitled, man. They they pay some good money, right, to put their kids in these these good clubs, right?
Yeah.
And they
Well,
feel
I
like
mean,
they're
you kind of understand it, right? Like if I buy something at Walmart, I expect the customer service representative to help me, like in purchasing this product. I want a water. Which is the best water, whatever.
Okay,
And I expect them to show it to me. When you go and buy a car, I expect the car to be high quality stuff,
Yeah.
or else I'm going to come back and bring it back.
Yep.
Like that's how we are in America, and it makes sense. When I invest money, I expect something
good, yeah.
something to come back.
Yep.
Number one, parents need to take the responsibility and understand that the reason that you gave me your kid is to make them the best soccer player and to help them become better people,
Yep.
right? If you
Yep.
don't trust me, then your kid should have never been here,
Yep.
right? So that's my one thing. Is like, if you don't trust me as a coach, then don't put your player on my team.
Absolutely.
Trust that I'm going to get them to the next level soccer-wise. I'm going to get them to the next level as a human being. Whatever it is that you want to do at home, you do it at home. I'm not telling you how to raise your kid.
Yep.
The second thing is that clubs, and I don't know, I've obviously looked at it from a business perspective, but I don't know right now how we can get to a place where we don't have to charge
Yeah.
And clubs can still leave the lights on, right? Obviously, they have to make money, and I'm not here to say, oh, you shouldn't be taking money, whatever. They have to take money.
Yeah, they have to. You have to keep.
But until we can get to a point where we can charge a lot less or charge nothing, then parents are always gonna have a say, and that's just gonna like the bottom of the pyramid is always going to be crumbly. And that's why I've sort of like I made a Facebook post recently, like I'm stepping away from coaching because of that, and I think I could just make more of a difference just by doing things like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, like when you go to okay, so you said you've been in England a few times, right? Playing for your local teams, local clubs, do they charge over there?
No,
they don't charge.
No. It's fun. I'm pretty sure it's funded by the city.
Yep. I mean, I can see that.
Obviously, they have investors. It's a business.
Yep.
So they have. I forget the nationality of the investor at the time, but I think it was Russian. I think a Russian investor. So he says here's $300 million for your club. Allocate it properly. So you have to do field maintenance, the facilities, the outreach and the marketing.
Yeah.
Then obviously the
hiring staff,
the staff, but also the player salaries, the players' health benefits, all that stuff. So that's where the money comes from. And then they bring in the academy players, and they're not going to invest money into an academy player if they don't see that they are, worth it. And that's why people from other countries have a hard time. Whether it's coming to America or coming to another country, the international thing is because they have to invest way more into an international than they do someone who's domestic. And so you have to be way better. Yeah. Like you can't just be a little bit better. You have to be way better than the people that are
already
you.
Here. Yeah. So how many years did you play for your prep school?
So I was there for 4 years.
For 4 years. And then what was the next step for you?
Yeah. So the next step was I went to college. I went to Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville.
Okay.
As I said before, like my dad has a ton of connections, and I don't claim to be like, I tell people all the time, I don't have like I came off the street and I had to really fight for everything and all this stuff. I didn't. I had great parents, great upbringing, but my dad said, if you really want to be a professional, like this is what you have to do. And I took that to a whole nother level that we talked about earlier. So I went to college, and I chose my college. I did everything myself. Like my dad could have easily set up any meeting I wanted.
Yep.
And but him and his maturity and understanding of like I have to do this myself. He's like, you ask me if you need help. That's it. Nice. And I never asked him.
Wow. W.
And so college was very interesting. But freshman year I came in. So again, like I said, my senior year of high school, we made it to the final of the Development Academy. We played at the Houston BBVA Compass Stadium. It was nice.
Okay.
Lost to Red Bulls, and then literally like the next week I was in college. Right, so I went from high school, the tears and all that stuff from that game, and then a week later I'm in college. When I went there, started every single game freshman year.
What position did you play?
So in high school I was a center back.
Oh.
I then went to center. I continued playing center back at college. Went to right back a little bit in between.
Yep.
So that's where I was freshman year. I started every single game. Nothing happened. We lost in the conference tournament. Nothing happened, and I was just like, okay, cool, like this is what college is, right? Like that's what I said at the beginning, like I adapt. And I'm like, okay, how do we get to the NCAA tournament? So freshman year I went back to England and did like preseason with them.
Nice. What team did you train with?
Same team, Sheffield Wednesday. I went there 3 times.
Nice.
We played some high level team. We played Middlesbrough. We played Nike Academy.
Nice.
Like Doncaster Rovers. So we played some decent games. It was fun. It was enjoyable. We played Birmingham City. It was fun, enjoyable. But then I was like, hey, like I basically asked the coach, like, hey, what are the chances of me like actually staying here or whatever? And he's like, well, right now, since you're 19, you'd have to actually basically be a pro. And right now we're not willing to offer a contract for a professional from an international. Unless you're like touted, like an actual like, you have professional experience. And I remember he said that like you need to have professional experience. And I was like, okay, what I need to do is, this is later, but because I was a freshman, but I was like later I need to focus on getting experience as a pro. Not you don't want to worry about the money right away. Because you're not going to get the money. And if you focus on the money and you don't get it, you're going to quit. So for me, I was like, I just remember thinking that later, like, oh, he did talk about professional experience. I need to get more games. And now I'm going to be more valuable. So freshman year, I went back to England, whatever. sophomore year, I came back and I was like, okay, like we gotta do something this year. We had some high level guys who are now pros. Matt Polster, who's with New England Revolution now,
Nice.
just had the best season in MLS history. So we had him. We had Christian Valesky, who is also pro right now, and we're like, we have to do something this year.
Nice.
Like, look at our team. I'm no longer a freshman. I'm a sophomore yet now. I have experience, and so
And like a good pool of players.
we had a good group. And so freshman year we had a coach named Kevin Kalish, legend in the St. Louis area, and then Scott Donnelly, who was actually my coach at Atlanta United. He was the head coach my sophomore year, and he actually stepped down 10 days before the season started. So I had 4 coaches as a college player. I had 4 different coaches, and so sophomore year we all came together and we're like, hey, this is our year. Let's do this. And it was a tough year, but once the conference tournament hit, we just kicked it on for some reason. Like we just went all out.
Yep.
And we did really well. We won the conference tournament. We went and played Northwestern. We beat Northwestern in Chicago, and then literally from Chicago, being right on the lake, it was like 3 degrees out.
Yep.
Chilly. And then literally the next day, we were in California, 75 degrees and sunny. And so it was really tough.
Yep.
But we lost to Cal Berkeley 2-1. That year, I focused on staying in America because I kept wanting to go back to England. But I was like, I'm going to focus on staying in America and trying to make a name for myself in the MLS.
Ah, okay.
And so I went to Reading, Pennsylvania, which is like one of the best PDL, Player Development League teams.
Okay.
And we had a great coach and just a crazy lineup. And I was like, oh, okay, this is like, that level up was always part of my career, always part of my life. And so that level up was like, I was like, oh, shoot, like we had some quality players who are still playing in the MLS today.
Nice.
And that really changed it for me because I was like looking around. I was like, oh, these guys all made it to the round of 16, the round of 8, some of them Final Fours. And I was like, wow, like that's what I have to get there. I have to get there in my career. Came back for my junior year, and I had interest from MLS clubs, Philadelphia, New York City.
Nice.
Like my coach is like, this is like, you're done after this. Like, let's get it done. You're done after this. Generation Adidas contract. Let's get it done.
And that was junior year.
Junior year.
Already getting these like.
Yeah. No, that was a great summer for me. I played the best. I showed everything I wanted to show. I felt like I made a name for myself with agents and clubs, and that was going to be it.
And at center back too.
I moved to center mid at this time.
Oh, center.
I moved to center defensive mid, and so
that's a more challenging position than center back.
Yeah, and funny thing is, we played the backup Arsenal goalkeeper. We played against him that year. All this stuff, right? So we came back. New coach came in from Louisville. Mario Sanchez, legend of a coach, but at the time I was not a huge fan. He's like, this is your year. Let's get it done. Great, cool. I ended up not starting the first 8 games. I ended up
what?
I mean, he gave me opportunities. And looking back, he was right. He was 100% right. I could have probably just played every single game and just signed a Generation Adidas contract. But I'm telling you right now, I learned more in those 2 years, junior and senior year, than I would have learned had I would have been like all the other players that you see signing Generation Adidas contract. You can't even name 3 of them from 2 years ago. Yeah. Like, we don't know who these people are anymore because they were given something too early before they actually learned the process, and now we don't know where they are. And so that could have been me, but junior year was an absolute nightmare. Horrible year for me. I don't like saying depression, but I was really low, right? I was really low that year. Tough year. Because I was supposed to do it. I was supposed to go. Yeah. And
all these promises, right? All of these things.
It wasn't really, and to be fair to him, it wasn't a promise. It was just like, this is if you do this, then this is what's going to happen.
Okay.
And I felt like he didn't hold his end of the bargain. But looking back, I didn't hold my end up to the bargain. Like, I wasn't. So? That high school kid, the work ethic, the grind. I didn't have that junior year. I was the man, dude. We didn't have a football team at SIUE, right? So freshman, sophomore, and now going into my junior year, I was like, I was the man. What other? There was only one other player like me who played every single minute freshman, sophomore year. It was me and my friend Austin. Everyone else from our class, either they quit, they transferred, or a couple of them were left with us, and they hadn't played up to that point. Yeah. One of them got injured, and the other redshirted and didn't play the year after that. So I'm like, I'm the man. Mm-hmm. Me and my friend Austin, we were the men.
Yep.
So I was like, I'm chilling, like, because Mario also was at Louisville. They tried to get me to Louisville, but things didn't work out.
Damn.
So when he came over, I was like, oh, he already knows me. He likes me.
Yep.
Come to find out, a couple of our guys had been scouted for Louisville as well, and so Mario's basically like, oh, you don't want to work? I'll just put him in.
Yep.
I'll just put him in.
Yep.
And I was like,
so
I
got you complacent with it.
I immediately learned at that moment. I was like, oh, first of all, I learned how to be a good teammate because I was on a call with a college team of the assistant coach is now a head coach somewhere else, and I was talking to his team, and he started telling them about how them as a coaching staff always thought that I was just going to quit. They always thought I was going to be done because they knew my track record. They knew I had never been on the bench ever. And so they're like, as soon as we put him on the bench, there's gonna be an attitude. There's gonna be he's gonna leave. He's gonna talk crap behind our backs. He's gonna try to transfer, whatever. I was like, I remember talking to my dad because I did try to transfer, kind of. We were like talking to different coaches, whatever. My dad was talking to him, but I remember telling him, I was like, listen, I made a commitment here. Before any of this happened, I made a commitment, and once I made that commitment, I'm going to make sure that SIUE is better when I left than when I'm here now.
Wow.
And so the funny thing is that senior year was probably on paper the worst year of my college career. I broke my arm. I had 2 red cards. I didn't start the first 8 games. We tried me at left back now.
Oh, they're just shifting you different places at that point.
I'm telling you, I tapped back into my work ethic because junior year I didn't have the work ethic that I had before.
Yep.
I realized, I need to get that back. That's what I'm lacking.
Yep.
And so then going into my senior year, my mom is a physical trainer, so she does training for like athletes, whatever.
Yep.
And so I said, let's sit down. I left summer PDL early. I left a month early so that I can focus on my training to get ready, that I was fit and ready to go, right? I was ready to go. We were doing hard workouts every single day, making sure that we were ready to go. I was the fastest I've ever been. I was the strongest. I could go. I was on weight. Everything was dialed in. I was heart rate. Every workout, my heart rate was tested. Everything was perfect.
Yep.
I got in there. We played Notre Dame. I had a great game against Notre Dame. The following game, we played against Dayton, and I had a horrible game. And to be honest, I didn't really understand why I had a horrible game, but now knowing what I know about video analysis and truly what it takes to play your position to perfection, I was not perfect.
Yep.
And that's what he expected out of me. I was a senior. He expected perfection, and so throughout the year it was in the lineup, out of the lineup, in the lineup, out of the lineup.
Okay.
And so at one point I was just like, dude, I might just give up here. Like, this is my last season. And I'm fighting for my spot. I don't know if I'm going to start tomorrow. I honestly did not know if I was going to start or not. Damn. And I was like, dude, this is not it. And I just remember having this moment where I was literally like, listen, at this point, who cares? Who cares? Because there were times I would go in the game, I would give away my first pass, and he would take me out. So it was like a 2-minute thing. I got subbed in.
Yep.
I would give a pass away, and he would take me out.
Oh my!
And bro, this is my thing, right? Because I look at my coaching style.
Yep.
I'm so much similar, way more similar to him than I am any other coach I've had.
Really?
Because I truly understood at that moment. I was like, listen, that could have been the moment that lost the game. Like that giveaway, and he dribbles and he scores a goal. That could have been it. That could have been our whole season.
Okay.
As a senior.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Now as a freshman, because I remember freshmen would come in for me, give 3 balls away in a row, and they wouldn't come off, and I'd be like, what are you talking about? A senior giving a ball away like that? You know the drill. But I didn't know the drill because that's not how I had been operating before. I just been operating like, okay, as long as the scoreboard at the end says that we won, I'm good.
Yep.
But it wasn't an obsession with making sure that, that moment right there could be the moment. That moment could be the moment. And that's how I am now, where if I know a kid is not 100% focused and they give a ball away, I'm like, yeah, they didn't score, but they could have. And next time they could score, and that could be it. All the work we've done for that moment for you to give it away is not good enough. And so I would be so nervous, right? Because if I give a ball away, I'm off.
Yep.
But what I realized is, so I came up with the idea of like, just screw it, whatever. If I give it away, I give it away. If I end up on the bench, I end up on the bench. I'm not going to die.
Yeah.
And so that's when everything changed for me. When I was literally like, I'm just going to go out there and do what I think is best, and what I think is like, I'm just going to do whatever. To win, to win. That's the main thing. Is like I'm not just gonna go out there and just if I think I should do a step over, I should do a step over. But I want to win. I want to do everything I can to win.
Yep.
And so when I went out there, I just had to screw it. I give a pass away. Who cares? I'm gonna end up on the bench. Who cares? I'm not gonna die. Mm-hmm. And so once I started doing that, everything changed for me.
Nice.
Like coaches for some reason were like, "Oh, you look so much better out there," and I was like, "Bro, I didn't think I played that well." But then we started playing more and more and more. We finished top 15 at the end of the year.
Nice.
At the end, I got. I mean, that's a Hall of Fame team. We're going to be in the Hall of Fame for SIUE because we made it further than any SIUE team for the last 45 years.
Before that. Man, yep, absolutely.
And so we did that. But then I also got nominated for, and I am on the team of the decade for our school. And so everything that I said before about I want to leave a legacy here, all this stuff. It happened.
It happened, yeah.
It happened, and I played 77 games. So, like, my thing is, like, all those times when I was in and out, it all, for some reason, worked out in the end, and I still played 77 games, which is, it's up there with some of the most.
Absolutely. And so as a freshman?
Yeah, it was crazy because my friend Matt Polster, who's at New England, he had a crazy amount, and he literally played almost every single game.
Wow!
From freshman year to senior year, he played almost every single game. But I was blessed, and in a world now where everyone wants to transfer and stuff like that, it's just like I was able to
stick it through, man.
Stick it out because it was really tough. It was really tough. I had 4 different coaches.
Wow.
So I could never get used to a system. I could never get used to whatever. Yep. I just had to focus on what does it take to win? What does it take to be successful? And if I'm not at my best, I can't look at the coach. I can't look at my teammates. I have to be at my best first before I look at other people.
Absolutely.
And that's what I learned through that whole process. And I learned way more through that process than I did any other process.
After that, after finishing off your senior year, finishing top 15 and breaking all those, like, the records for your school, what was next for you?
Yeah. So that's the funny thing is, like, literally after high school, made it to the final. Just the next week I'm in college.
Yep.
So boom, right in. Summers I would go to another team. Everything was just really smooth.
Yep. It was smooth and quick. And
as soon as college is over, my coach is like, listen, I can, like, put out a good word for you and I can do all this stuff, but no one's calling me about you. And I was like, okay. Mm-hmm. Like, my thing has always been, okay, like, what do you want me to, like, what do I need?
I can't read.
There've been, I remember multiple times in my life where a coach expected something out, like some emotion out of me. Mm-hmm. I remember I walked into my coach's office. He came up with 2 things that I absolutely loved. One of them I do today, whether it be in business or in soccer, where he had job descriptions for every player.
Oh.
So literally we made them. We made them. He didn't make them.
Yep.
We make our job description. So he would write up on a board. He would be like, okay, right back. What is your job description? And we would say, get crosses in the box, block crosses, and connect passes, right? Center, defensive mid. It'd be switch the point of attack, protect the center backs, win aerial balls, whatever, right? We would have our job description. I do that today where I meet with all my teams before and we have job descriptions. Going down the list, okay, goalkeeper, what is your job? Right back, what is your job? And then I would ask them after every game, did you do your job? No. After too many of those, guess what happens? You get fired.
Yep.
So
absolutely. That's
how it is. But he did it. He did that. And then also he had a depth chart, right? He said, okay, Andrew, I see you at left back. So it's you and two other people. I went into his office one day and he's like, Andrew, you're 3rd on the depth chart. There's 2 freshmen over top of you and you're a senior. He's like, so what do you want to do? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, got to go to work. I got to go to work. Like, he thought I was going to be done. Like, that's when he's like, I thought you were going to quit. I thought you were done. I mean, like, how can I quit? I'm that's just not who I am. Exactly. I don't just quit.
Yep.
And so, he had those 2 things, which is great. That was one moment where he's like, he thought I was supposed to have, like, more emotion. I was like, okay. And then the other one was at Sheffield Wednesday when they're literally like, hey, do you want to play here? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, I thought you'd be a little bit more enthusiastic. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I know what I want. So when you ask me if I want what I want, yeah,
hell yeah,
obviously,
yeah,
that's what I want. This is not like a surprise.
Exactly.
Me. You know what I'm saying? And so, those were 2 moments. But after college, I had nothing. Like, I tell people all the time, like, preseason starts in early February 12th, maybe. It was March 24th, March 25th, and I was still on my parents' couch, just.
Really?
Yeah, and I wasn't chilling. Like, I was training. I was training probably 4 times a day.
Yep. So that was the first time in your life that you felt uncertain. Was it?
I mean, 100%. Yeah, that is. But I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that
at the time. Yeah.
What
were you thinking at the time?
Yeah, no, I'm trying to put myself back in that place. But right now. So one thing that has also drive me is that control what you can control, right? And me and my wife were talking about this the other day. Is literally like, she's like, I feel like I can control everything. I was like, I love that. I love that you feel like that, because if I make sure that I stay ready every single day. I was training every single day. So I was lucky enough to be living in Minnesota at the high school that I used to go to.
Yep.
So I would just come and train with the teams. So I would stay. So my dad coached the 16s. So I would train with the 16s. So that's a 2-hour practice. And then the 17s would come in, 2-hour practice. And then I would train with the 18s at the end. So I would just be there for 4 or 5 hours, like just training the entire time.
Yep.
I would train with my mom in the morning. We would be doing this, like I was getting ready for college. We had a date on the calendar, and we're like, okay, we want to get ready for this date. That date came and went, so I was like, okay, let's tone it back a little bit, but let's make sure that my body's just ready to go, right? And so that's what we were doing. I had no idea when I was going to whatever, but I knew that I had to stay ready and that I would take any opportunity. Like I said before, I just had to get experience. I just had to get experience. And crazy things happen, man. But it's just crazy looking at that year and where I was in March to where I was in December. Insane. Like, I mean, you're probably gonna ask me what happened, but so March I went and trained with San Antonio FC, who was number one in the USL Championship. They hadn't lost a single game.
Wow.
And they were just a great organization. Just a ton of guys who played in the MLS who are now playing in the championship. Perfect.
Nice.
And I went in. I was like, I'm just gonna learn 100% all day long. Take everything in, learn. And so I was there for a week. They're like, okay, go home. We'll figure out. We'll move some money around. We'll try to get you here, whatever. And I was like, oh shoot! Like I really thought to myself, I was like, I don't want to leave because if I leave, they might not ever call me back.
Yep.
And so I left, and I was like, oh no, this is not going to be good. And 2 weeks later, they called me and they said, okay, come back.
Oh, they called.
They said, come back for another week. I said, okay, cool, okay, fine.
I mean, yeah.
Because at this point, I knew I'm not coming back because, like, I'm going to go and I'm not going to come back home because I'll do anything to stay. I will do anything. And so that's literally what the discussion that we had is literally I was training and they're like, okay, Andrew, listen, we don't really want to pay for you to be here. We don't really want you here on salary or whatever. And I said, listen, I will literally do anything to stay here. I would just train. All you have to do is give me a house, give me a place to live. And they're like, okay, we can probably do that. We can put you with someone or whatever.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, like this is it. Like I'm exactly. a pro.
Yep.
I'm in.
Yep.
And so that was in March or early April maybe. Mm-hmm. And so I'm at San Antonio. I'm like, cool. I am a San Antonio FC player. Cool. Now I wasn't on contract. Like I didn't even sign a contract at that time. Mm-hmm. But I was just living in the apartment. I was training every single day. I was a pro now. Wow. Cool. Fast forward, and they were like, okay, Andrew, we have a U.S. Open Cup game coming up. We want you to play in it. I was like, oh. I'm here now.
Yep, just waiting for your moment, man.
I'm here now.
Yep.
And so I signed like a preliminary contract that kept me like basically an amateur, but I could play. And so I signed and I played and we won the game. And I was like, wow, this is sick. Like I'm actually a pro. My first ever game as a pro. And so from there, they were like, okay, what we want you to do is we want to get that experience. It was back to that experience. And we have a friend, the coach is like, I have a friend who coaches a summer league team in Midland, Texas. And I was like, okay, great.
Okay.
I was like, cool. I'll go on loan. I was like, David Beckham went on loan. I'll go on loan. So this is like my Preston North End, right? And so I went there. And I remember thinking to myself, I always think to myself, I think back and I'm like, kids don't think like this. It's impossible for a kid to think like this now. But I said to myself, if we don't win the championship, I don't come back. They're not going to let me back. And looking back, like they would have definitely brought me back. But I'm looking at it like they will not bring me back unless I show my worth. I go out there, I kid you not. There's no respect to the team because I love those guys. But we went out, we did a 5v2 session, or a 5v2 exercise. Yep. These kids could not kick the ball. And I was like, bro.
That's training with the summer
league team. Yep. These were all college kids. Like, think back to when I was in college. I played with guys who were in top 16, top 8, top 4 universities.
Yep.
And now I'm training with kids who are, no offense, but like lower D3 schools, NAIA schools, lower D2 schools. And I'm just like, what are we going to do with it? Like, what am I going to do here? I'm a pro.
Yeah.
What am I going to do with this?
Yeah.
But I tell you, like, right now, like, the power that one player can have, if they have the right attitude, can change a whole environment.
Okay.
We made it to the semifinal.
Yep.
Detroit City FC, right? We're playing in front of 8,000. And there's no way we should win this game. Absolutely no way. We don't even have our entire team. We don't have anyone. And I was the captain, and throughout the whole season. And I told them, guys, we have nothing to lose. We have nothing to lose. No one expects us to win. So let's just go out there and let's just do what we do best. The game before that, we played at Wichita, Kansas. Literally, that team was a really good team as well. We watched video on them. We're like, wow, this team is solid. Wow. We scored some lucky goal in the 88th minute to win, and everyone's just looking around like, what the heck is happening? And so then we travel to Detroit City, and we're there, and we're just like, we're looking around. There's 8,000 people. It's tight. And I'm like, wow, that's
the finals at that point?
Semifinals
at that point, yeah.
And this team is like, everyone, this is televised and everything. Ooh, and they're like, this is our year. Detroit City, this is our year to do everything. Man. We have the best squad we've ever had. They had like 30-year-olds, 33-year-olds. Like, they were experienced. Guys who had literally been at the PSG Academy.
Yep.
Like, high-level players, right?
Yep.
And I'm just looking around. I'm like, this is why I'm here. I couldn't imagine not being here.
Wow.
And so we go out there. It was 0-0, 120th minute. We go to penalties. And I'm like, I'm stepping up first. I'm going to prove to everyone, like, we are here for real.
Are you playing center mid at that
center
game?
Mid, yeah. Center mid. And the whole crowd comes behind the goal. Not the whole crowd, but a lot of the crowd comes behind the goal. Mm-hmm. So the goal, it's online. The whole goal is like tons of people behind it. And I step up, a little stutter step, score. And I tell the boys, and I'm like, guys, we're in the lead. Like, I did the coin flip. We literally we got to go first, which is always the goal. We got to go first, and the pressure was too much for them. We end up winning, and now we're going to the final. And I was just like, bro, I don't understand. Like, I was just looking around. I was like, this is crazy. This is insane.
Wow.
And so we went to the final. We got smoked in the final because all of the guys had to go back to college. So we had no one.
Yeah.
We were just picking random people off the street on the way there.
Really?
Not really.
Oh, yeah, I know, yeah.
But we go there, and this team was like, again, another high-level team in Connecticut, and they smoked us. It was like 5-0, and I was just trying to get it to, like, not be too bad. But it is what it is, and I was just like, wow, I'm really, like, grateful for this opportunity.
Made it to
like,
the finals,
it was crazy. And then I went back to San Antonio. They brought me back. I was rooming with one of my best friends now, one of my good friends now in soccer, Lee, and basically I told him, for some reason when I came back, I said, bro, October 28th, I'm going to make my debut. This was late August that this happened. I said, bro, October 28th.
Yep.
I circled it on my calendar. Portland Timbers coming to Toyota Park, and we're going to do this, right? We're going to do it. He's like, bro, they had a depth chart in the office, and every time I went in to go talk to the coach, I would look at it and I was like, bro, I'm 25th out of 26. Like, I'm 25th on the depth chart. And I was like, bro, I got to get my way up into that 11.
Yeah.
I got to get up into that 11. And I trained every single day, bro, like I was going to play on October 28th, bro. There was a game that Saturday. I would show up to the field. The training facility was way behind the stadium. I would show up to the field like an hour too early, and I would just train. Because I'm not going to play today. Like, I'm not going to play. I'm 25th on the depth chart. Yep. What am I going to do? And so, like, they didn't even dress me when I first got back. They didn't dress me. And so I was like, okay, cool. Train, whatever. And then October 21st, right? So I said I was going to train. I was going to play October 28th. October 21st, we're playing against Tulsa, and I'm on the bench, and we're up 2-0 late. And I'm like, bro, this is my chance.
Yep.
Like, coach, put me in.
Yep.
Like, do the right thing here. Give me my debut. Final whistle blows, nothing. I was like, bro. And I went back to the hotel. I, like, cried. And then something came over me. I was like, bro, I didn't manifest the 21st. I manifested the 28th.
Well, yeah.
The funny thing is that I actually realized, I was like, bro, there was 2 right backs in front of me, right? One got a red card the game before that. He was suspended for 4 games.
Yep.
So before that, one of my friends, Mark, he slotted in, and against Tulsa, he got a yellow card. So kind of looks bad that coach didn't bring him out early, but he got a yellow card and was suspended. So I thought to myself, I was like, there's only one right back left, me. And I'm like, this might be, it's all coming together. Funny enough, though, is like literally that whole week I was training as a center back. They put me in the starting 11 as a center back, And coach brought me in his office. He's like, I'm still not sure if I'm going to play you or not, whatever. I was sort of getting discouraged, kind of nervous at the same time. But come that Saturday, 28th, I get a text, and he's like, okay, you're starting at right back. And I was like, bro, I literally called this in August. Like, there was no... It was honestly crazy. And I told my wife that one time, and she's like, that is insane. Like I literally, that's why I believe in the law of attraction, is because literally I've done it.
Wow.
There was no reason I should have thought I was going to play August 20, whatever it was, to October 28th. There was no reason. And I remember training every single day. I would always train twice a day. Like, that's just what you should do as a pro. I would be training with the mindset of, like, I got to make sure that I'm ready for October 28th.
Absolutely.
Every day I would train, I got to be ready for October 28th. Like, we had maybe 10 games before that. And I was like, no, but the 28th.
28th, yep.
And that's what happened. Like, I played on the 28th, and it is what, and yeah. That's when I made my professional debut. That was my professional debut.
Yeah. So after that, after you made your debut, how was that game? You know, how did it feel, man? Finally playing.
Honestly, it was cool because I had a great, like, I had almost an assist, right? It was an unbelievable cross, but I almost had an assist. It was cool. I got taken out at halftime because, and it wasn't my fault. Like, looking back at the video, like, it wasn't my fault that we were 1-0 down at half, but the team wasn't playing a certain way, and we needed that spark. And who are you going to sacrifice? You're going to sacrifice the guy who, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was like, it's cool, whatever. But I got my debut. I checked the box, right? And at the end of the year, they brought me in, and they're like, hey, based on your appearances, like, we're going to give you a check based on your appearances, because we got paid for being on the bench and making an appearance and also starting. And so they paid me for that, which is cool, and I really appreciate that, because I got the experience that I needed, and the experience that I wanted. But I told him afterwards, I was like, listen, I just want to thank you for, like, having me here. Like, I really appreciate that. Like, I traveled with the team. I did everything with the team. I learned a ton. I looked up to them, and I was like, I'm going to learn something from this experience, and I did. And I was like, I appreciate you guys. Like, that's it. But that game, you asked me, like, it is what it is. Looking back at it, it's always funny looking back. Like, you probably remember, like, first time you played or whatever, you were like so nervous, and you're like, "This is." If I played a U15 game now, I'm like, "This is dumb. This is so slow."
Yeah, absolutely.
So I look back at that game, I'm like it wasn't really that crazy. Now that right now, I think I've played probably 38 professional games or something like that. And I look back at that first one, I'm like, oh, I was just playing not to mess up.
Exactly.
That's it, and it was cool.
Yep.
It was fun, but yeah.
I mean, everyone remembers their debut, right? And the time leading up to it.
Yeah.
So what was next for you, right? Closing off the season, talking to the coaches after it all was done. What was next?
Yeah, basically they're like, hey, we're not going to re-sign you. And I'm like, that's perfectly fine. I appreciate the opportunity. They pretty much did an overhaul, like got rid of a lot of players. So I understood it, and I was like, that's cool. So after that, I actually went to a combine in Orlando. I went to a combine. It was funny because San Antonio was there, and I met the coaches. They're like, "Oh, what's up, guys?" And there were a couple of the San Antonio teammates were there as well.
Really?
It was a cool experience. I got to see everyone, but I balled out. I mean, I was the best player there by far. And a lot of the coaches, one of the reasons that a large majority of them were like, "Oh, we don't want him," is because I was too small. I'm 6 foot, and so it was dumb. But they're basically like, we don't want him at center back, whatever. I had a great time, but I did get a interest from a Latvian club, and I was going to go over there. And that's a funny story as well. Like, flight booked, everything. They're like, once you get here, sign a contract, get you housing, all that stuff.
Wow.
Right? I literally had my bags packed, ready to go. We were about 5 hours away from leaving, and I get a text from my old college coach. He's like, hey, do you want to play at Atlanta United? And I was like, I mean, yeah, that'd be dope, but I'm going to Latvia in 4 hours.
Yep.
I'm like, I'm going in 4 hours. And he did the same thing in college as well. I was about to sign for another college, and literally he saw me on my visit.
Yep.
They were playing against each other. This is crazy. Like, my life is crazy, I realized. through talking
Hey, man, you see, that's the whole point of this, right?
I'm like, bro, my life is crazy. But in college, I was on a visit at a school, and they were playing SIUE. I was there, and I was touring the college, all this stuff, doing what I do, and I bump into the coach just walking around. He's like, what are you doing here? I was like, I'm just touring the college, whatever. He's like, wait, you haven't committed yet? I was like, no. He's like, don't commit here. I'll call you tomorrow. I said, okay, cool.
Damn.
I said, okay, I won't commit here then. So, and so he literally called me and he's like, hey, I want to get you on a visit like tomorrow or whatever. I said, okay, cool. My coach at the time wasn't very happy. He's like, we have a game this weekend. Like, we got to prepare. We're on a mission right now. I was like, yeah, I understand, whatever. But I went on visit, quick one day, came back. And I was like, dang, I kind of want to go to SIUE. And it was perfect because literally I was number 2, right? That was my number. Mm-hmm. And so the number 2, Aaron Lance, literally was a right back, my position, number 2, and he was graduating that year. So I was coming in right out of the gate, number 2, right back, starting, ready to go. And it was just a perfect fit.
It was perfect.
It was just a perfect fit. And I look back and I'm just like, wow, that's so crazy. But
coach calling you 4 hours before your flight to Latvia.
Yeah, and so I was like, yeah, I mean, if you can make it happen, if we can get a good price, I need to make money now.
Yeah, man. At that point, man, you need to.
And so I'm like, I can't just be, messing around here. But they're like, listen, we cannot offer you very much at all. And I was like, okay, give me enough so that I can eat.
Exactly.
Just give me enough to eat for right now. And it's again, you got to understand these levels. Like I was 23, about to be 24 at the time. So I was like, okay, I need a little something. I was able to swing it where I lived with one of my friend's parents.
Yep.
They had a downstairs basement, so I lived with them, and it was just an amazing. So I ended up going to Atlanta United, playing for Atlanta United too, and made 28 appearances. Started 26 times, and that was huge for me because I got real experience. I was playing against solid teams. Like in the championship, playing every single week, training with the first team every week. It was it was amazing.
How long did you play for that club?
I played for them for the whole season, so I was there for 9 months. Mm-hmm. And then I think that the reason that they let me go is, number one, my age, because they try to keep Atlanta United 2 for younger players.
Yep.
And they only kept 1 or 2 guys over the age of 25. And so that was one reason, but the other reason, they knew I was going to ask for a lot of money because I was a pretty big player.
Yep.
And we didn't have that much success, but it was one of those things. It was a great experience.
Yep.
Great experience. That was I was a real pro at that point.
Nice. So you got 9 months of experience.
Yeah.
What's next?
So then I had a little bit of leverage, right? Now it's next place I go to, I need this amount of money. Right, so
you know now you have a little more understanding of the whole industry.
Exactly,
more.
people want money for what they did in high school, but you got to understand that when someone pays you a salary, they're making an investment.
Exactly.
Right. So if I pay you $1,500 a month, I expect you to be producing. At least playing, because if you're not playing and you're asking for $1,500 a month, then guess what? I can't justify that at a certain level. Mm-hmm. Right. So I heard that they're building a team in Chattanooga. They had a lot of high level championship players, guys who have won the championship before, USL championship, guys who had played in the MLS. They were all coming in, guys who were on the full men's national team coming in. Ooh. And I was like, bro, this might be the moment that this might be the moment that I guys who have played in the English championship. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, this could be something, but it was a league below championship, what I was accustomed to. And so I was like, well, let's see what this is about. So I went there, and I was getting paid probably 3 times as much as I was getting paid at Atlanta, which it wasn't much, but it was way more than I was getting paid before. Absolutely, so I was like, okay, cool. I can actually have a life. Yeah. For me, I was actually a pro when I went to Chattanooga, because I was I could actually live on my own. Exactly. I could actually pay for food. I can actually, at the time, my girlfriend, now my wife, I was I could take her out to dinner, whatever. So it was a good time. And that was when I realized I was oh, I'm actually a pro now. It was a good experience. Some things happened at the end contractually that opened my eyes again to this is a business. Yep. This is not just oh, I love playing soccer anymore. Exactly. This is people really only care about money. Mm-hmm. And I'm if I'm not producing week in, week out, if I'm not a big name, then they're not going to justify paying me.
Absolutely.
And so I learned my lesson, and that's when I told my agent, because I had an agent at that point. Before, when I was at Atlanta United, when I went to Atlanta United, I didn't have an agent. And my dad always warned me against agents, right? And so I just thought all agents are bad. But I was approached by an agent, and we talked, and I was wow, I really, really like these guys. They didn't have a huge clientele list, but the clients that they had were playing at decent-sized clubs. say they had like 5 clients at the time. Now they're growing crazy and super excited for them. But at the time they only had like 5 or 6, and so they invested a lot of time into me, and I was appreciative about that. And they basically negotiated my contract for me. Club came in, they lowballed, and my agent was like, no, we need way more than that. So they negotiated my contract for me, and then after that I told them like, hey, I don't want to play in America anymore. Get me somewhere else. And they negotiated that, and I ended up going to Germany after that.
Nice.
Yeah.
What club in Germany was it?
TUS Ennepetal. So in between Cologne and Dusseldorf. It's a 5th division club, but it was something like I was really focusing on, again, getting my experience.
Absolutely.
I had gone to Germany before. When I was in high school, I went to Werder Bremen, and I was training with them, and I was like, wow, this is like, it's so, like, people don't realize the difference in cultures. Like,
oh yeah, man.
German culture is so much different than English culture.
Absolutely.
It was such a different culture for me. I was like, wow, this is like, okay, like, again, let me adapt to this. But I remember the first training session, I was like, this is weird. Like, when I get the ball, just the different movements and where people show up for me, I'm like, what? There's no one there.
Yep.
Because in German football, it's way more 1v1 than it is in other, like,
I see.
In England, and sometimes in the US, is like really, or even Spain for sure, way more team oriented, passing the ball. But in Germany, it's very, very, like, you'll get the ball with a forward right in front of you, and you got to figure it out.
Yeah, you got to figure it out.
A lot of figuring it out. Going back to Germany, when after playing at Chattanooga, I was really like, oh, I need to adapt, and they saw my film from Atlanta, and they're like, oh, this is what we want. We want a center defensive mid who can do these types of things.
Yep.
And I came in, I was like, okay, great. And they treated me amazing, and like I was wanted there. And I was like, wow, this is great.
Nice.
And that was 2020, and so COVID hit that year, and I was like, I mean, I'm telling you,
man,
that was the most fun I'd had playing soccer since I was probably like 8 or 9.
Really?
Yeah, 100%. I might take that back. When I went to Sheffield Wednesday the second time, I was like, wow, this is fun, because I was there for a month and a half. I was there for the entire preseason. Like, I was really in it. I was really doing it, and so that was fun. But no, playing in Germany was the most fun I'd had since that. Like, there were little spots where I was like, okay, this is fun, whatever.
Yep.
But no, this was the most fun I'd had. I was just playing. I was playing, and I was being respected for my style of play, because sadly in the US, like, a lot of the owners have never played soccer before, and so
they don't get it.
They look at ticket sales, and they're like, oh, we need to switch up the lineup. But it's like, it has nothing to do with the lineup. Like,
exactly.
Like, improve your marketing team, or like whatever. But for me, Germany was something special.
Yep. So, and then COVID happened. What happened, man? What happened?
Yeah. So
during COVID, when COVID hit,
as you probably know, like, in Germany, it hit like hard, where people were like, you were fined if you came out of your house, kind of thing.
Wow.
And so me and my wife, we were supposed to go to the Netherlands on a vacation. We had the weekend off, so we were supposed to go to the Netherlands on vacation. We were literally 2 days away from going when her parents called her and like, hey, you got to get out of there. And then also the team brought us in for a meeting and like, hey, this is what's going on, all these things, get inside, like, quarantine, all this stuff. And we're like, well, I'm not quarantining in Germany. I'm not quarantining in a country that does not care about me.
Yeah.
So we're going to go back. So we flew back literally the next day, flew back to US.
Yep.
Quarantined in Georgia at her dad's house. But we had nowhere to go. We had nowhere to live.
Yeah.
We had nothing. And that's what this isn't a relationship podcast, but going into like that, like, that's why I'm so blessed, because me and my wife, we sort of make the ultimate team when it comes to like, hey, we might be in something right now, we might be struggling right now. Like, we literally came back from COVID with nothing. We didn't have furniture, we didn't have anything.
Yep.
Cars, nothing.
Yeah.
Well, she had a car, actually. And I was like, well, what are we going to do?
Yeah, exactly. What's next for us? Like,
and so for that 14 days, like, we had to quarantine, right? So we quarantined at our dad's house. They would literally put out the food for us, and we'd have to come out like a minute later and get it, like, all that stuff.
Oh man.
And that's when I actually started posting on Instagram a little bit. Like, I was like, I might as well tell people about some stuff.
Exactly.
So I started posting on Instagram, but we always knew like we're gonna figure it out. And so I literally asked her like, where do you want to live? Like, we can go anywhere. She's like, where do you want? I was like, or she said, I want to go by a beach. I was like, okay, cool. Well, my grandma lives in St. Augustine. Let's just go to Jacksonville. And so we did that, and we've been living there for 3 years now.
Okay.
And so
nice, man.
we always figure it. We just figure it out.
Yep.
That's what we do. So
I mean, you're a team. After you're married, you not become one.
And going through this whole story, I realized like all the different times that I had to make a commitment. Like from 8 years old, I was like, I want to be a pro.
Yeah,
I got to
man.
commit. And so I committed. Then when I went to college, I had to commit to the college. When I was like, listen,
and you committed.
And that's another thing. We call it commitment, right? We call it committing to a college, right? But how many people transfer? How many people?
Yeah, it's no longer a commitment now.
It's not a commitment because people don't understand what it means. Like we always hear like, oh, I have commitment issues or something like that. It's like true commitment. And I said this recently on my podcast. I said true commitment is staying true to what you said you were going to do long after the emotion that you set it in has gone.
Okay.
So I get pumped up on January 1st. This is going to be my year. This is what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do everything that I said I was going to do. I have my 50 goals on my list.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to get it all done. January 14th comes. Oh, I got a little cold. Or, it's raining outside. Or, I'm sore from the gym because this is the first time I've gone in a while. I'll do it tomorrow. Okay. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow comes, you sort of half-ass it. Then the next day comes. And it's never a shut off. It's never like, oh, I'm done.
Yep.
It's always slow and like gradual. It's
absolutely.
Like, so that like now I don't even remember like what my goals were now.
Exactly.
And so for me, when you say commitment, like the definition I just said, that I look at the commitment to being a pro. Mm-hmm. So 8 to 28 or 8 to 23. And then college, committing to the college and saying, hey, I'm going to make sure that this is positive for you guys for committing to me and me committing to you.
Yep.
It's a relationship.
Yep.
And so we're going to get this done. So I got that done. And then after that, it's like, oh, I'm in a marriage. Mm-hmm. I have to commit.
Yeah, you have to commit now.
And it's not just, and like, and people are like, oh, yeah, I get to be with them forever. It's like, it's tough.
It's
like,
tough. I can only imagine, man.
It's the ultimate contract.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate, like, you literally.
Ultimate contract.
That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And you get.
I mean, I get it.
And the thing is, it's still performance based. I still have to perform.
Mm-hmm.
But I get unlimited returns. Like if you truly, again, going into this, but like
talk to me.
If you truly put 100% into it, you're gonna get not 100% back, not 100 times what you ask for back,
yep.
but infinite returns.
Yep.
People say all the time, like you give your wife a home and you give your wife a house and she'll make a home. Like anything you give her, she'll make it into something way more beautiful, way better. And
Absolutely.
So that's sort of how we operate. Like we're very unorthodox in the sense that we are perfectly fine with things going wrong. Like we will, something goes wrong.
Yep.
We might get upset for the day, but then the next day
you come together and you guys will figure it out.
The next day it's like, well, what else are we gonna do? We go back to work.
Yep,
we work hard again.
Absolutely.
And we're also blessed because she works at home. She works for a great company, and then I have my things that I'm doing, and so it's a great partnership.
Beautiful.
I'm now in another 20-year cycle, and so I had to realize, like, first and foremost, I had gotten off my professional from a physical aspect. I had gotten off my professional mentality, so I'm back on that. I'm training twice a day, every single day now.
Nice.
And so I'm on that, where I'm making sure that my physical is right, my mental is right, and my relationship's right.
Beautiful.
And it was funny. I was on a couple of other podcasts that asked me the same question. They asked me, "Are you happy?" And I said, "That's so interesting that people ask me that, because one guy I really look up to is Naval Ravikant. He talks about desire, and desire being a contract you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want."
Who is that guy? You got to put me on,
he's a legend.
Man. Yeah, you got to put me on that.
Oh, he's a legend.
Yep.
I mean, he has a book called The Almanac.
Mm-hmm.
I read it like every couple months. I'll read it again.
Wow.
But he says that about desire, and I said to myself, I was like, right now I'm in a phase where I have to give back more to other people, and so no, I'm not happy right now. I'm grateful. Mm-hmm. I'm blessed. Mm-hmm. But I'm not necessarily like happy. I'm not content. When I look at it and I look at the entire picture at the end of the day,
yep,
I'll be happy. But the picture's being written right now. Like, imagine asking Da Vinci, "Are you happy when the Mona Lisa is half done?" Like, it'd be like, no.
Exactly.
What do you mean?
Exactly. Yep. Is there any advice, right, that you'd like to give to players that want to play at a collegiate level, that want to play pro, that want to go out, and play in Europe?
Yeah.
Any advice you like to give them?
Men do less than they ought unless they do all they can. So if you don't give your 100%,
Yep.
you didn't do what you're supposed to do, right? And so number one, first and foremost, whatever it is you want, like we talked about, whatever it is you want, ask yourself, am I giving 100%? Can I do more?
Okay.
And if the answer is yes, figure that out. Because if you don't take care of the day, then what are we talking about 20 years from now? What are we talking about?
Absolutely.
So let's figure out the day. And that's why I've really been locked in on like day-to-day things, day-to-day process. And anyone who wants to do anything, like this isn't just that's sort of what I'm trying to do with my podcast as well. Is like these are not just lessons for soccer. These are lessons for true life.
Man. Yeah.
That no one's talking about. No one's talking about these.
Yep.
The failure is not in not achieving the thing. The failure is in never going for it at all. Like imagine that. Not imagine going to bed at night when you're 65 years old and being like, maybe I could have done that. Maybe I should have done that.
Man, that's my biggest fear.
That's
my biggest fear.
That's mine. And for me, I'm not fearful of regret. I'm fearful of never trying.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I've really been wrestling recently with the idea of like I'm willing to fail completely, where everything is just an absolute just ruin.
Yep.
For at least knowing that I couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? At least knowing in my head that I did everything I could. Mm-hmm. I just wasn't good enough, which is almost never the case. There are a lot of players out there that we can watch and we'll look at and we're like, that kid is not that good, but he's playing for a top club in Germany, or a top club in
England,
wherever.
Yep.
And it's like because they just kept going. They just never stopped.
Yep.
And that's why I also teach like video analysis and stuff like that, because I think it's so important. I call it the footballer feedback loop, where you try something, you fail, and then you learn from it, and then you try again with new knowledge. Mm-hmm. And what happens is people try, fail, and then they stop. But the more you go around, the better you'll become.
Yep.
And that's how you create intuition, and that's how you create like Messi level intuition or Neymar level intuition. When Messi was like 12 or 11, I'm sure I guarantee you he missed so many dribbles, and like if he had stopped, we would never have Messi.
Absolutely.
Like the amount of times he probably got tackled or kicked or whatever, and if he had just stopped, he would not be Messi.
Absolutely.
Neymar, same thing.
Yeah, Neymar, same thing. Yep.
Ronaldo, same thing. And when he went to England, the amount of times he was booed or kicked or didn't score a goal or was put on the bench, if he had quit, he would. But he had to try, fail, learn, and then try again.
Mm-hmm. Before we end, I have a gift for you.
Oh man, I appreciate it.
This is from the Football Unknown family.
Nice.
And from New Tempo, our very first sponsor.
Nice.
And we're gifting you one of their new releases. Feel it, man. Feel the quality.
Wow.
Launched.
That's nice.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Love it. Appreciate it, man.
So
thank you.
It's a gift from us and from our sponsors to you, man. And it was a privilege talking to you. I learned a lot, from this conversation, and I hope that many more gain some knowledge and gain something from this. Yeah. And I hope to have you on the podcast soon and again. For sure. And I hope to, continue our relationship and continue talking. For sure. And it's been an honor having you on, man.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate the opportunity, number one. And number two, I think that this is in sort of the same vein as what I'm doing. I think this is super important and super needed. And I think the soccer industry is kind of behind.
Yeah, to be honest.
When it comes to, if you look at football, basketball, even like, you look at people like Gymshark. Like you look at high level brands, and I think the soccer industry is way behind. And I think it's up to us, the people who have the vision, to do something to create a community and create an initiative that allows us to compete, or even at least have a voice. And it's crazy because
you're right, man.
Because football is the number one sport in the world.
Exactly. Number one sport in the world.
But we've seen what happens like with FIFA and stuff like that, and so it's important for us, like the lower people than like the FIFAs and stuff like that. The lower people to create communities around these types of topics, and then at some point collaborate and all come together. So I think what you guys are doing here is amazing, and I look forward to collaboration in the future. For sure.
Thank you so much for coming on, man. It's been an honor having you on, and I'll see you soon.
Appreciate it.